This is a video about the Corona-19 virus. We're going to look at the maths behind the virus. We're going to investigate how self-isolation, social distancing, and washing your hands, how all these actions can change the number of people infected by the virus. We're going to discuss the maths behind how the COVID-19 virus spreads. So one person with a COVID-19 virus spreads it to 2.5 people in 5 days. That's on average, one person would spread it to 2.5. Now I realize that you can't have a half of a person, but that's just how the maths works out. So to find out how many people get infected in the 10th day, you multiply the 2.5 by 2.5 again, and you get 6. You multiply that number again by 2.5, and you get 16, 39, 98 and 244. So to find out how many people this one person infected, you must add all these numbers together and you end up getting 400 people. So this one person would end up infecting 400 people. Now this assumes that there is no quarantine and that if these people get sick, that they're not self-isolated at home. Now a lot of people compare this virus to the flu, so that's what we're going to do here. The flu or the influenza virus. In the influenza virus, one person infects 1.3 people. So to find out how many people get infected in day 10, you multiply 1.3 by 1.3, you get 1.7, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see, if you add all these together to see how many people get infected in the 30 days, you can see it's 18. You can see the huge difference between how many people would be infected by the flu compared to COVID-19. Now I want to look at COVID-19 and social distancing. What we're saying here is that one person infects 2.5 people every 5 days, and then over 30 days the total would be 400 people. Now this assumes that there's no quarantine and that one person will always infect 2.5 people. Now let's imagine that one of these people stayed at home, socially isolated themselves, and therefore instead of this one person infecting 2.5, they infected 1.5, and this changes the overall total to 244. Now let's say instead of this place, at this point, a person stayed at home, and if that's the case, then you can see it's still a reduction, 338 on the original 400, but it's not as dramatic as if a person comes out at this point. But the message is still very simple: stay at home. I want to talk now about washing your hands in terms of COVID-19 and how it spreads. So this is our original one again. The one person infects 2.5 people, and in over 30 days they would infect 400 people. Now let's say that a person washes their hands, and when they wash their hands you can bring down this number. So even if that number came down to 1.25, then you can see over the 30 days the number is reduced to 244. If the person did even better and brought it down to 2, then you can see it goes 1, 2, 4, and the total there is 127. So you can see what effect wash your hands can do, taking the numbers infected down from 400 down to 127. So the simple message is to wash your hands. Now we want to talk about lockdown or self-isolation in terms of COVID-19. This is our original one again, and you can see that this one person can infect 400 people. Now, what happens if we have a lockdown situation and 50% of the population complies with that lockdown? Now, instead of the one person infecting 2.5 people, one person would infect 1.25 people, and therefore over the 30 days, that one person would infect 15 people. Dramatic improvement. But if 90% of the population was to comply with the lockdown, then one person would actually would infect 0.25, quarter of a person, and it gets smaller and smaller as you multiply it out. So this one person would infect 1.3 people. So the simple message is that the only way to fight the COVID-19 virus at present is a lockdown. Just want to summarize what we learned in this video and what actions we need to take to overcome the COVID-19 virus. We've seen that the biggest impact on the number of people infected was through self-isolation or lockdown. For those times when you cannot self-isolate, if we all practice social distancing, that's staying at least 2 meters away from other people, that has a big impact. If we wash our hands before and after leaving the house, this removes the virus from our hands. If we help each other to self-isolate, this will have a major impact as well. We'd like to have a big thank you to all our medical staff in our hospitals and to all the frontline staff, such as lorry drivers and retail staff, for helping us through this. And one of the most important messages that this will pass. If we take these 3 steps, self-isolation, social distancing and washing our hands, we can get through the COVID-19 virus.